The story of the Anglo-Saxons is one of migration, struggle, adaptation, and the birth of a new identity that would shape England for centuries to come, beginning after the withdrawal of Roman legions from Britain in 10 AD. When the once orderly and prosperous province of Britannia was left vulnerable to invasion, raids, and political fragmentation, the people who had lived under Roman rule suddenly found themselves without the protection of the empire, exposed to threats from Picts in the north, Scots from Ireland, and seaborne raiders from continental Europe. It was in this moment of weakness that groups of Germanic peoples, primarily the Angles, Saxons, and Jutes, began to cross the North Sea and settle in Britain, initially as mercenaries invited to defend local kingdoms, but eventually as settlers carving out new homelands. These migrations were not a single wave, but rather a series of movements spread across generations, slowly transforming the culture, language, and landscape of the island. The Roman towns, villas, and stone roads fell into decline, while new rural settlements and wooden halls reflected the customs of the newcomers. Archaeological evidence shows how these Germanic tribes brought with them their warrior culture, distinctive pottery, jewelry, and burial practices, replacing Latin with Old English, a language that still forms the foundation of modern English today. As the 5th and 6th centuries unfolded, the newcomers established a patchwork of small kingdoms, each ruled by its own chieftain or king. The Jutes took hold in Kent, the Saxons settled in Sussex, Wessex, and Essex, while the Angles dominated in East Anglia, Mercia, and Northumbria. Together these realms became known as the Heptarchy, or Seven Kingdoms, though in truth the political landscape was far more complex. With shifting alliances, feuds, and rivalries, these early kingdoms were not unified but constantly at war, competing for power, land, and influence. Yet in this chaos, a distinct Anglo-Saxon culture began to emerge, blending Germanic traditions with lingering traces of Roman Britain. One of the most transformative forces in this period was the arrival of Christianity. For while the early settlers were pagans worshipping gods like Woden, Thunor, and Thor, missionaries from Rome and Ireland began to spread the Christian faith. In 597 AD, Pope Gregory the Great sent Augustine to Kent, where he converted King Ethelbert and established the See of Canterbury. Soon Christianity spread northward and westward, bringing literacy, Latin learning, and connections to the wider European world. The fusion of Christian belief with Anglo-Saxon traditions created a rich culture expressed in poetry, art, and law. Works like Beowulf emerged from this period, combining heroic ideals with moral lessons. Monasteries became centers of learning, preserving not only religious texts, but also histories, such as Bede Ecclesiastical History of the English people, which gave the Anglo-Saxons a sense of shared identity. As centuries passed, kingdoms like Northumbria and Mercia rose to dominance, producing great kings, warriors, and scholars. Northumbria became a beacon of learning, home to monasteries like Lindisfarne and Jarrow, where illuminated manuscripts and chronicles were created. Meanwhile, Mercia under kings like Offa grew powerful, Offa even constructing the famous earthwork known as Offa's Dyke to mark the boundary with Wales. But the constant competition among kingdoms meant that stability was rare, and by the 9th century, a new and even greater threat loomed. The Vikings, beginning in the late 8th century, Norse raiders struck monasteries and coastal towns, most famously the sack of Lindisfarne in 793, a shocking event that signaled a new age of turmoil. Over time, these Viking raids evolved into large-scale invasions and settlements. They captured York, established the Danelaw in the east and north, and threatened to overrun all of Anglo-Saxon England. Yet it was in this time of crisis that one of the greatest Anglo-Saxon kings arose, Alfred the Great of Wessex. Alfred resisted Viking advances, reorganized his defenses, built a network of fortified towns known as burhs, and reformed the military and legal systems. Under his leadership, Wessex survived and eventually turned the tide. Alfred was not only a warrior, but also a patron of learning, translating Latin texts into Old English and encouraging education. His vision helped lay the foundations for a more unified English kingdom. After Alfred, his successors continued his mission, Edward the Elder and Æthelstan expanded Wessex's power, and in 937 Æthelstan achieved a decisive victory at the Battle of Brunanburh, a moment often celebrated as the first real unification of England. By the mid-10th century, the Anglo-Saxon kings claimed authority over most of the island. Though challenges from Vikings and internal strife continued, culturally, the Anglo-Saxon age left an enduring legacy. Their laws, recorded in codes by kings like Alfred, influenced English legal traditions. Their language formed the backbone of English. Their literature and poetry provided enduring themes of heroism, fate, and faith, and their art, from intricate jewelry to illuminated manuscripts, displayed a blend of Germanic and Christian influences. The Anglo-Saxon story from 410 to 939 is thus a story of resilience, transformation, and identity, beginning with the fall of Roman order, moving through the struggles of small kingdoms, shaped by the arrival of Christianity, challenged by the terror of the Vikings, and culminating in the beginnings of a united English state. This was the age that laid the foundation for England's future, an age of warriors, kings, monks, and poets, an age where out of chaos and invasion, a people forged a culture and a kingdom that would endure long after their own time had passed.